Welcome back everyone to the channel. I just want to say I appreciate you guys being here for just a couple minutes of your day. I appreciate you guys. So like I said earlier, about a month ago for my channel update video, one of the things I want to do is talk about the TBR. And when I mean that, I don't want to do it every month. I want to do it every season, just because I do change my reading throughout the whole month pretty quick. Especially if I'm not feeling a book, I'm like, man, this is not what I want. I don't want to force myself to read stuff that I just don't enjoy. So that's why I decided to take a step back and proceed differently. So I'm going to show you, I have 7 books for the next 3 months that I am going to read no matter what. And it's just interesting that I want to read these books. And first, let's get this out of the way. I don't own one of these currently. I should go buy it before October because it's going to be in October when I do read it. But that is going to be Tomy. I read Uzumaki last year. I thought the art, the story, everything was just amazing. And I was told that Tomy was just as good. So I want to read Tomy. Every year I want to read one of his spooky books during October. I might try to change it up next year, but we'll see. For the next one is one other manga. And I plan on trying to read all of Jujutsu Kaisen. So there's 22 volumes. I read the first one, the prequel, a couple weeks ago. Make sure you guys go check out that video if you want. I want to read all of Jujutsu Kaisen this year before winter time. So hopefully by November, I'll have all of Jujutsu Kaisen done. And I can have reviews of all the arcs currently and just so on and so forth. I watched the anime of this and I really liked it. That's why I'm like, screw it, I'm gonna buy them all. So I went and bought all of Jujutsu Kaisen and I have not been disappointed with the show. So I think the manga is arguably just gonna be as good, except for the fights. I assume the fights are probably gonna be better, obviously, in the show. But regardless, Jujutsu Kaisen is one I really want to read. I would like to read Bride. This is from Ali Hazelwood. Like I said, I'm beginning into romance a little bit, and this is, I've never read anything from her, so this is like werewolf and vampire stuff. And I figured, I'm like, this is kind of perfect for the fall time. So we're gonna try and read it. I don't really try to do fall themed books too much. Except for October, that's where I just read strictly spooky, scary books. But with Bride, I was like, I bought this a while back, and it's a little tear on it, so it's used. And I'm like, all right, I'll spend the money and buy it. It's been sat on my shelf for a while, so I decided, screw it. And so I think I'm going to try and read this in September is my goal. Worst case is it'll probably be in November. But like I said, most of these books, I'm going to try and read them all throughout the next 3 months and get them all out of the way. And it's not even just these books. I have a lot of books I plan on reading in general. Like my October one is stacked full of books. But I currently just want to show you just the ones I feel like I want to read. Like I actually legit want to read these and know these are guaranteed reads. But with Bride, I don't really know too much about it. I just, like I said, I just know it's werewolf vampire stuff, and by the cover of it, I'm assuming the girl is a vampire and then the werewolf is a guy, and they can't be together because one's a werewolf, one's a vampire. It's a very simple, typical trope when you have these two supernatural creatures. Like, for God's sakes, in my series right now, the Stone King series, same thing. Male werewolf, female vampire. They can't be together because they are werewolf and vampires because they hate each other, but they still love each other. It's beautiful, people. The next one is, I think I'm going to try and read this one in November as well, but this is One Dark Window. I don't know anything about it, but this gives me the most gothic, spooky feeling ever. And I was like, you know, I think this is going to be pretty solid. I don't know anything about it, like I said, but this looks fun. I bought this a year ago because I had a bunch of credit at one of the used bookstores I go to, and so I got it. And I just realized it's book 1, so there's probably more than one book, clearly. So if I like it, I'll probably read the second book. I have no idea what this book's about. It just looks like a really fun little book, and like I said, I want to dive into other genres instead of just horror, fantasy, and like thrillers. I would like to get into more romance. I would like to get into dark romance. I would like to get into sci-fi, mystery. I want to read all the genres, because that's what this channel is going to be mostly about. It's just anything. So might as well dip your toes into some of these books, you know? So this year I was making a goal to read some books that really freak me out and don't trust the government, because, well, I really don't trust the government, just saying. But these books really open up the third eye of not trusting governments. And I read Clockwork Orange earlier this year. I read Fahrenheit 451. I think it was 2 months ago I read 451, which was a great book. So I'm going to read 1984 from George Orwell. I don't really know too much about this book. I know he wrote this when it was in the 50s. And I guess a lot of things that he was writing about was actually pretty accurate in the 80s. I believe so. But I want to read this. I also want to read Animal Farm from him, which is much shorter. But like I said, I have like so many classics I just want to read. So, and this is one of them I really want to read. I want to open up the third eye and just see what this book's about. I was told this book's really freaky. My mom told me it was freaky, so, and she said she read it in the 80s, so that's even funnier to me. Speaking of November, November's gonna be a pretty big month for finishing up, well, series. Speaking of series to finish up, A Memory of Light, the last book of the Wheel of Time. Now, I'm not technically going to be finished with this series because I'm going to read the novella in December, but still, it's going to feel so nice to finally just say, hey, I did it. I finished the Wheel of Time series. I am currently on the 11th, no, the last book before this. What was wrong with me? The 13th book. So that's very interesting. Or when this video comes out, I should have the review out by then. But I'm very excited to finally say, hey, I did it. I'm finally done with the Wheel of Time. And then I can really speak my opinions on how I feel about the whole series. I want to do that as well when I do read books or their series or just anime or just whatever. I want to do like an overall thought of like pros and cons to each one. I've been doing that for a while with mostly with the manga I read, because manga is a lot easier to read, a lot quicker to read. How big this book is. So this book is like 40 hours on Audible, and that means it's like if I spent 40 hours reading Jujutsu Kaisen, I would be done with it. You know, it's like one of those things. But with this book, I can't wait to be finished with it, and then I can give my true thoughts about the whole series. And I think my goal is January is when I want to do that. Speaking of another series I want to be done with, well, will be done with in December, and I don't know if I'm going to go back to it when he writes the 6th one, but that's Rhythm of War. I'm actually looking forward to reading this. I was told this is the weakest of the 4, which doesn't make me feel good, because it's the weakest and it's the longest, so I just don't feel comfortable with that at all. I read The Way of Kings like 2 years ago, and then I read Words of Radiance like right after, and I really liked it, and then I just stopped reading them. And then I got back into reading Oathbringer, and I was not that happy with Oathbringer. I thought it was kind of mid. With Oathbringer not being the greatest, I was like, oh, great, here we go. And then, and I hear a lot of bad things about Rhythm of War. So I'm looking forward to reading this still, because it's one of those things, just like Wheel of Time, where it's like, oh, when I'm finished with these, I could finally just say, I did it. I'm done. You know, something like that. So I'm pretty excited to get through the Stormlight Archive. And then I'm also going to be doing the same thing where I'll talk about my whole opinions about all of Stormlight, probably in January. And I'm looking forward to just saying, hey, I did it. I read all Stormlight and I did all Wheel of Time. And then I can finally talk about my thoughts and my opinions fully on both series, and it's gonna be really nice. I like doing that. I like doing one review per book just to get my thoughts out for that book, but I also like doing just overall opinions about the series as a whole, and I'm going to continue doing that with every single thing I read that's a series. I personally like it. It's easier to just really get your thoughts out about the whole series in general. So those are 7 books I am going to guarantee to read in the following 3 months, and I'm actually looking forward to all of them, because some of them I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm finally done, and other ones it's like I'm one step closer to being done with the series, and a lot of these are just books I've wanted to read for a while, so it's just going to be nice. Like I said, I'm trying to change up my reading lifestyle to the point where I can just read whatever I feel like reading and just posting about it. Like I said so many times on this channel, where I don't want to be just strictly fantasy, just strictly sci-fi, just strictly horror, just strictly whatever. I want to be able to write, I want to be able to read whatever and post whatever. That's the goal of this channel. So you will see there's times where I will read a bunch of romance novels in a row or a bunch of horror novels in a row, but that's just what I want to do. And my Friday videos are always going to be whatever I feel like talking about, and there's going to be writing stuff, so that's going to be the end goal with this channel. I like what I'm doing right now. I think the channel's a lot of fun doing it this way. Helps me as a reader to not just read the same thing, the same kind of book style every time. It's really nice, honestly. If you guys made it to the end of this video, I do appreciate it. What are you guys reading for, well, fall, or just what are you guys reading in September? Are you reading the same exact books as I am, or have you thought about reading the same books as I am? If you guys are reading anything close to what I'm reading, that'd be really cool. Let me know down below. Or if you guys are just reading whatever, let me know down below. And honestly, I cannot wait to hear what you guys have to say. Last but not least, make sure you guys stay safe, stay humble, and tell someone you love them. I'll see you guys in the next video. Stay weird.